just needs a beat down, needs humbling. Instead of eating cheeseburgers, I'm going to feed him some humble pie.
It's something that we took very seriously and something that a lot of work has gone into, and obviously it hasn't been resolved. And
look, what happened here was absolutely insane. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Anthony Joshua didn't mess around with social media beef or public callouts. Instead, he went straight to the lawyers and slapped Logan Paul with a lawsuit after Logan came at him. We're talking about real legal consequences here, the kind that stick around and follow you everywhere. This isn't playground drama that disappears after a week of trending hashtags and angry comments. Joshua put Logan in a position where serious money and career damage are on the table. The pressure is crushing, and everyone in combat sports knows it. When a legitimate champion takes you to court, that sends a message to the entire industry. He's basically saying that disrespecting him and trying to create viral moments at his expense will cost you big time. And trust me, this isn't some slap on the wrist fine that Logan can pay with his YouTube earnings and laugh about later. This is career-threatening territory, with consequences that could be absolutely devastating.
Oh, él es esto, él es aquello, él es, dije, pero ¿por qué te preocupas por lo que ha hecho alguien más? ¿Qué has hecho tú como luchador para aumentar tu ego, pero no pudiste
Eddie Hearn, who understands the boxing business better than almost anyone, confirms that Anthony Joshua has completely dropped the gloves on this one. He's turning this whole chaotic situation into a full courtroom battle with real judges, real lawyers, and real consequences that extend way beyond anything boxing commissions could hand down. Whatever made Logan think his stunt was acceptable has pushed things way past the line of normal combat sports promotion drama. Now we're in serious legal territory where the courts decide what happens next. This isn't some theatrical press conference designed to sell pay-per-view buys or create buzz for a future fight. This is a genuine power move from a world champion who's making it absolutely clear that attacking him outside the ring comes with brutal consequences. So after Jake Paul got absolutely demolished and left humiliated in front of millions of viewers worldwide, Logan didn't just sit there processing his brother's defeat. He completely lost his mind and went after Anthony Joshua in an unprovoked attack that nobody saw coming. The sheer recklessness of what Logan did is mind-blowing. Even by combat sports standards where drama before fights is pretty normal. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment mistake you could maybe understand, given the circumstances. This was pure chaos that sent shockwaves through the entire boxing community. Logan stepped completely out of his lane and crossed boundaries that even the most dramatic fighters usually respect. The fallout has been explosive and it's getting worse every single day. Fans, fighters, media personalities, everyone across combat sports is absolutely stunned at the complete madness of this move. People are questioning what Logan was possibly thinking and whether he understands how serious this situation has become.
They said, and everybody knows, he's not a real boxer. There's levels to this game, and he was way out of his level, way out of his depth.
Eddie Hearn, who never holds back when calling out nonsense in the boxing world, says it exactly like it is without any sugarcoating whatsoever. This was a shameless, calculated stunt designed purely for attention and viral content. And now both Paul brothers have officially embarrassed themselves on the biggest stage possible. Logan's reckless assault on Anthony Joshua, coming right after Jake's devastating loss that left him with a broken jaw and shattered pride, makes them both look like complete amateurs pretending to compete in a league they'll never legitimately belong to, regardless of their social media following. The audacity of their behavior is genuinely pathetic when you strip away all the hype and promotional nonsense. The real boxing world of champions, trainers, and serious competitors is watching them crash and burn in real time. It's like witnessing a slow-motion disaster where everyone can see the catastrophe coming, but the Paul brothers keep charging forward anyway, making one terrible decision after another.
What was it, about an hour ago? So I guess everything's calmed down a little bit. I thought it was a bitch move, if I'm honest, because any time an attack like that is like premeditated.
Carl Frosch, a legitimate boxing legend who's faced the absolute best competition, doesn't hold back at all when talking about this situation. Logan Paul has officially embarrassed himself in front of the entire combat sports community, and there's really no coming back from this at this point. This ridiculous stunt is a complete joke, nothing more than a desperate attempt to stay relevant and maintain his influencer status that only proves he's a pretender playing dress-up in a real fighter's world. The boxing community is watching this unfold with complete disbelief and secondhand embarrassment. Everyone is absolutely shocked at how Logan's reckless behavior has turned him into a laughingstock. We're seeing a chaotic disaster of unchecked ego and pure incompetence playing out on the biggest stage imaginable, and it's honestly painful to watch, even if you're not a Logan Paul fan.
Bullshit, but where does he go from here? What does he do? I'm not even arsed, man. I can't be arsed with this bullshit anymore, this clown world. It's a joke shop. It's just a big fucking... It's just...
Johnny Nelson Wilson, another respected voice in boxing who's witnessed everything during his career, absolutely destroys Logan Paul, and honestly, he's completely right to do so. This stunt that Logan pulled added absolutely nothing to his career, nothing meaningful to his bank account, and nothing at all to his boxing credibility, which was already questionable to begin with. Experts everywhere suggest that without facing real legitimate competition, without actually proving himself against serious opponents, Logan has completely exposed himself as an amateur playing in a professional league where he simply doesn't belong. The result is that both him and Jake are left totally embarrassed. Their reputations are absolutely destroyed among people who actually understand boxing. The entire boxing world is watching in collective disbelief. It's the kind of public humiliation that's really difficult to recover from, especially when everyone, from legendary fighters to casual fans, is questioning your legitimacy.
Anything for his career, for his bank account, everything. For his development. I don't think he did anything for his development because he didn't have somebody in front of him that wanted to test it.
Logan Paul's own words and actions reveal the chaotic arrogance of both brothers in ways that are sometimes hard to believe, even when you're watching it happen. With Jake nursing a legitimately broken jaw from his devastating defeat, dealing with the physical and mental aftermath of getting absolutely dominated. This reckless disaster that Logan created only solidifies their image as amateurs, who fundamentally can't compete in the big leagues, no matter how much money or fame they bring to the table. Fans and insiders alike are genuinely shocked at the audacity and sheer incompetence on display throughout this entire mess, leaving both Paul brothers completely humiliated in the court of public opinion. The gap between their social media personas and their actual boxing abilities has never been more obvious or more painful to witness.
It's about AJ. Nobody expects Jake Paul to win apart from Jake Paul. I bet his own dad doesn't even expect him to win. Nobody believes he's going to win. So if anybody says, yeah, no, Jake Paul's going to do it, they're gamblers. They're hustlers. They're just trying to be...
Adam Smith, who's covered boxing for decades and knows what legitimate competition looks like, breaks down the chaos perfectly. What Logan Paul attempted, this ambush-style confrontation with a legitimate world champion, should never have happened under any reasonable circumstances. Yet here we are, witnessing complete absurdity that somehow keeps getting worse beyond what anyone thought possible. The Paul brothers continue to cross every line of boxing decorum that exists for good reasons, turning the sport into a circus of confusion and embarrassment rather than athletic competition. Every mistake they make, every single reckless stunt they pull, not only destroys their personal credibility, but also leaves fans scratching their heads in bewilderment at how delusional their behavior has become. This gray area they constantly try to hide behind, this space between entertainment and legitimate sport, is really just a thin cover stretched over obvious incompetence and massively overblown egos. The entire disaster is both laughable in its absurdity and shocking in its disrespect for a sport that people have dedicated their lives to, creating this weird combination that's honestly difficult to fully process.
But we don't know. As with all these things, there's always a grey area, isn't there? But
Johnny Nelson highlights the absolutely massive gamble Logan Paul took by deliberately provoking Anthony Joshua, completely ignoring the brutal consequences of stepping into any kind of confrontation with a prime champion who's proven himself at the highest levels. With Jake Paul already humiliated and physically damaged from his loss, still dealing with serious injuries that will take time to heal, Logan's audacious attack feels like sheer desperation rather than any kind of calculated strategy. It's the move of someone who's panicking about relevance, making a reckless attempt to reclaim lost dignity and media attention regardless of the cost. Experts and insiders across the boxing community warn that emotionally provoking Joshua in this manner was a catastrophic miscalculation of epic proportions. The Paul brothers' behavior at this point reads as a tragic comedy, and I mean that literally. It's full of unnecessary risk, dangerous overconfidence, and very public shame that millions of people are witnessing. Every mistake they make only reinforces the perception that's becoming consensus opinion. These two are completely out of their depth in the world of professional boxing. Their behavior comes across as more embarrassing than strategic, more desperate than confident, and the gap between their self-perception and reality has never been wider or more obvious.
Like when AJ boxed Dylan White, getting him emotionally involved. It's a big risk because we've seen a nice AJ knock people out. So what happens when he's a nasty AJ?
So Counterpunch Boxing breaks it down perfectly. Jake Paul's face, after the fight, tells the complete story of utter devastation better than any words could. Bloodied, battered, and thoroughly humiliated in front of a massive audience. He looked every single bit like the underprepared amateur stepping into a professional ring where he simply didn't belong. This brutal visual evidence is a stark testament to Anthony Joshua's complete dominance and technical superiority, and it also highlights Logan Paul's catastrophic judgment in the aftermath of his brother's defeat. The Paul brothers' reputation in boxing circles is now primarily defined by serious injuries, profound embarrassment, and failed theatrical stunts that backfired spectacularly. Fans are left absolutely stunned because what was meant to be a spectacle for clout and viral moments instead became a masterclass in public humiliation, leaving both Logan and Jake as cautionary tales in modern boxing history. It's the kind of thing that will be referenced for years when people talk about influencers trying to cross over into legitimate combat sports without putting in the real work.
His nose is jacked up. This dude got his nose split.
Spencer Oliver doesn't hold back even slightly, and honestly, why should he at this point? Logan Paul is an absolute joke in the eyes of serious boxing people, and his reckless behavior only cements that perception with every new incident. Trying to face off against a world-class fighter, even one who might be past his absolute prime, completely exposed Logan's total lack of fundamental skill, proper preparation, and genuine respect for the sport and what it demands. Both Paul brothers have now become walking symbols of what happens when overconfidence meets humiliation in the most public way possible, leaving insiders and fans alike physically cringing at the spectacle. Their stunts, their injuries, their public miscalculations, all of it combines to make them a laughingstock in serious boxing circles. A cautionary tale of ego dramatically overriding ability. It proves definitively that clout chasing in the ring, treating boxing like just another content opportunity, has brutally backfired on both Logan and Jake in ways that are honestly hard to watch, even if you enjoy seeing arrogance get checked.
You know what I mean? He's just a joke in my eyes. You know what I mean? It was a life or death struggle with a guy that is clearly...
The weighing concept breaks down the escalation perfectly when you look at the sequence of events. What started as relatively minor shoving and typical pre-fight posturing escalated into a complete disaster thanks almost entirely to Logan Paul's recklessness and poor decision-making. The slap at the face-off, though it seemed relatively minor in the moment and might have been brushed off in other contexts, actually set the stage for complete chaos that spiraled out of control. Security had to intervene to prevent things from getting even worse, but the damage to both Paul brothers' credibility was already done, and probably irreversible. Their behavior, which was clearly meant to hype a potential fight and generate social media engagement, backfired spectacularly in every possible way, leaving them looking childish and completely out of their depth. Experts across the boxing world suggest this stunt only fueled existing skepticism around the Pauls and their legitimacy, exposing them as clout chasers masquerading as serious competitors when they're really just influencers playing dress-up. Every single mistake reinforces the growing consensus that these two are ill-equipped for professional boxing at the highest level, making them a cautionary tale of ego completely overriding skill in a brutal public spectacle that's painful to witness.
I mean, I don't mind fighters pushing and shoving. Probably shouldn't be slapping each other at the face-off. Security did a pretty good job of corralling it while they could, but I thought it was just an open hand.
Ariel Helwani captures
The brutal reality that everyone needs to understand is this. Anthony Joshua's power and precision make him an absolute nightmare for any opponent who steps in the ring with him. And the Paul brothers quickly realized they are in way over their heads dealing with someone of his caliber. Every punch landed by Joshua carries devastating potential, the kind of power that can change a fight in a split second. leaving both Logan and Jake exposed as reckless amateurs chasing clout and viral moments instead of developing actual strategy and legitimate skills. Analysts across the sport note that facing a prime champion with Joshua's combination of reach, power, and technical ability is a fatal miscalculation that shows fundamental misunderstanding of boxing. The result is that every move by the Pauls turns into public humiliation that millions of people witness and discuss. Their behavior may generate clicks and social media and engagement in the short term, but in the actual ring, where skills matter more than followers, they are utterly outmatched in every conceivable way. This leaves fans shocked at the audacity, insiders critical of the disrespect to the sport, and the Paul's reputations further in tatters with each passing incident.
And every time he threw a punch, I like winced, because he's a big man and he's an incredible boxer and he's still in his prime, and he's got a very long reach, and he's got a lot of power in that right hand, and that left hook is terrifying as well. And so I thought it could end.
Billy Joe Saunders emphasizes the unprecedented stakes involved here, and he's absolutely right to frame it this way. This wasn't just another fight on the calendar or typical pre-fight promotion. This was a public demolition of ego and skill that exposed fundamental differences in ability. The Paul brothers' reckless behavior, both inside the actual ring and outside it in their promotional activities, has systematically turned this spectacle into a circus where their incompetence is on full display for everyone to see and analyze. Experts suggest that their attempts to dominate or provoke Anthony Joshua, a legitimate champion with nothing to prove, only magnified their failure and made the contrast more obvious. This high-stakes scenario highlights the brutal contrast between seasoned professionals who've dedicated their lives to the sport and amateurs seeking clout and social media relevance. It makes Logan and Jake appear childish and completely outmatched in ways that are honestly difficult to watch. Fans, insiders, and commentators alike are witnessing this humiliation unfold in real time, and every miscalculated step reinforces that the Pauls are far from legitimate contenders in professional boxing, despite all their money and followers.
It's frightening for the sport. It's not that it's bad, it's frightening. But listen, this isn't boxing as a sport, this is the circus.
Tony Belly absolutely nails it when he points out the bigger picture here. This isn't boxing anymore in the traditional sense that fans of the sport recognize and respect. Instead, it's become a chaotic circus dominated by clout chasing and spectacle, courtesy of Logan and Jake Paul's influence on the sport. Their behavior, their reckless attacks, their public humiliation, all of it overshadows the actual sport and what boxing should represent, reducing serious competition to a sideshow that's more about entertainment than athletic achievement. Panelists and respected figures in boxing mourn that such behavior risks setting a dangerous precedent for the future, making the Paul brothers into symbols of ego and incompetence rather than athletic achievement. While their fights generate massive views and pay-per-view numbers that are hard to ignore from a business perspective, their legacy is ultimately one of embarrassment and spectacle rather than sporting excellence. Anthony Joshua stands as the stark contrast to all of this. He's disciplined, dominant, and utterly professional in everything he does, representing what boxing should be. Fans are left stunned at how far things have fallen. Critics are absolutely furious at the disrespect being shown to the sport, and the Paul's credibility among serious boxing people is in complete ruins. The Paul brothers' disastrous behavior over the past few months has pushed them to the absolute brink of total humiliation in the eyes of the boxing world and beyond. After Jake Paul's crushing defeat that left him physically damaged and emotionally destroyed, and Logan Paul's reckless, completely unprovoked attack on Anthony Joshua that shocked everyone watching, their credibility lies in absolute tatters. Every single mistake they've made, from the face-off slaps to emotionally provoking a prime champion who could destroy them, has showcased their complete lack of fundamental skill and judgment. The result is that they've turned themselves into a laughingstock of professional boxing, a cautionary tale that will be told for years. Analysts, insiders, fans, basically everyone with any knowledge of the sport is unanimous in their assessment. These clout-chasing stunts are a catastrophic failure that exposed fundamental flaws, revealing both brothers as amateurs playing in a league they simply can't compete in legitimately. Anthony Joshua, remaining calm yet utterly dominant throughout this entire saga, has mercilessly highlighted their weaknesses and exposed the massive gap in ability leaving Logan and Jake embarrassed and publicly ridiculed on the biggest possible stage. Even people close to them, their own associates, reportedly question their decisions behind closed doors, which really emphasizes how deep this disaster cuts and how damaging it is to their reputations. The burning question that everyone in combat sports is asking right now remains unanswered. Can the Paul brothers ever actually recover from this level of humiliation? Or is their legacy now permanently defined by shame, spectacle, and failure? What do you think about this whole situation? Are they completely done for good? Or is there still some chance for redemption if they completely changed their approach? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below and join the debate. Because let me tell you, this circus isn't over yet, and there's definitely more drama coming.